What's up, guys? I posted a bunch of stuff about this truck, and I figured it was time to do a more in-depth video of kind of what's thrown together here and what makes the old Mini Mega Bronco the Mini Mega Bronco. I thought it was a good time to do it because I feel like I had everything lined out. Truck's been running great, hadn't had any more issues. And then we ran it today and found some more issues. So I figured, we'll go over it and kind of figure out and talk about what we're going to try to do this time to negate some of these things from happening again. So this started out as a Wild Hoss Bronco kit, a model kit from good old Hobby Lobby. I bought it when they were running them on the discount sale. I think I ended up paying 20 something bucks for mine. And it fit perfect for this build. Now, I wanted to start this truck out as a budget build as much as possible. It's kind of gone away from that a little bit, but for the majority of it, it's still a very budget build. So the body here is, again, the Bronco body from Hobby Lobby. The interior that I'm running on it is a deadbolt interior that is cut to make the fit. Roll cage doesn't exactly fit perfect. You can kind of see it in there. It's not great, but it is in there. The head is actually attached to a drive shaft that is attached to a stock steering servo on the bottom. So that actually turns with the steering of the truck, hooks up to a splitter or a Y to the stock servo off the ESC. Or, excuse me, to my Emax off the ESC, then to the stock servo on his head. So that kind of gives you an idea what's going on with the body. The rear bumper is actually a Red Cat Ascent 18 rear bumper. I designed and 3D printed a mount that allows me to thread this in and screw this bracket into the hard body. And then it just slides in like the stock mount does on the Ascent. Now, tell my body's not exactly on here great anymore. Reason being, I have, fortunately, Sean, as you can kind of tell here, we have done this one in fully this time. Unfortunately, she took a hard hit, and it actually broke the back of the chassis fully this time. So, good news is I've got another one here for it, but Sean was nice enough to send me the files for this chassis so that me and him could kind of tinker and work together on a V2 chassis for this specific truck based off of his OG chassis here. So, swapping that around, let's go over top to bottom what we're going to. Again, Sean's chassis from Boggers Garage. It's a great chassis. Works perfect for the SEX24. Now, being budget, I'm using stock links. Plus the plastic. Guys, plastic takes hits way better than aluminum ever will. I mean, you're more likely to have all kinds of more failures running aluminum parts than you will somewhat plastic parts, depending on what we're talking about. So my links here are all aluminum. Except for my upper four link, I did have to change those around to a different type of setup on there. So I had some aluminum links I just made work. Drive shafts are some OGRC drive shafts. My wheelbase is super short if you can't tell in the video. So my drive shafts are actually a mixed mutt set, and I still had to cut and trim them to make them work right. Axles. I've got another video. If you search my name in probably a bunch of these groups, I'm going to post this video in here. You'll see I did a video on what axles we can actually run in these types of trucks. So I finally got a set of axles in this thing that I feel like is going to take the abuse of the monster motor system that we're running in it. These are FCX24 axles. They do have the Meus Portal Delete on them. The gearing that I have in this truck, while we're talking about it, this is your stock ring gear, right? Just a plastic ring gear. Getting a plastic pinion that threads onto a shaft. This is Injora's new overdrive, underdrive gears. These are helical gears. So they're helical cut, so they're kind of curved where they hook into each other, right? Where the stock gears are straight cut. These lasted 30 seconds in this truck. And I don't know if you can tell in this video or not, but that is the housing I was running. Basically, it tried to shove the pinion through my housing. I think it's just the fact that it's a helical cut style gear, and I'm running way too much power in this truck for that style of gear, so it actually tried to separate the two pinion and the ring gear. Anyway, long story short, ruined the housing, shoved the gears out, no bueno, didn't work. FMS, and I'll put a picture in this video too, has a set of metal gears that are identical to these stock ring and pinions, just like these, that attach the exact same way as stock, so it bolts onto the pinion shaft. Solid metal, and it worked out perfect. Could not have asked for a better fit. I mean, I've got zero binding in these axles, zero play in the pinion, and they've held up great. Backflips, a couple of mud runs, some heavy launching, and I've had zero issues. These are the longest gears I've had in these trucks, and it lasted longer than anybody else. So, hands down, FMS's metal replacement gears are the way to go if you plan on putting a dumb amount of power in this truck. So, power-wise, speaking of which, I'm running a cheapo 2534 or 2435 brushless system in this truck. Nothing fancy. I think it was 35 bucks off of good old Amazon. I'm running on a 3S pack, and the transmission setup that I'm running is the stock cases. Transmission gears are not stock. I actually ordered, to begin with, the RC all-wheel drive 370 motor and transmission for this truck, and it didn't really work out as well as I wanted it to. Motor blew up. Second motor blew up. So I went brushless. Once that happened, the bearings grenaded. Once the bearings let loose, and I didn't realize it. I doubt you're going to be able to see it in this video, but I ended up just completely destroying the transmission gears. This is a Fury Tech pinion. Ended up gnawing the teeth off of it pretty badly. But the main thing that ended up happening is the upper gear for the transmission. When it let loose, it really let loose. Stripped her good and sideways and all that. Now, these gears here, it's a 3-piece setup or a 2-piece setup. So you got your shaft, then your gear that goes on. Mofo RC sells a bulletproof transmission gear set that is all one piece. I'm telling you that because I'm not running it. I should have. I was trying to make up some time, get it here faster than what I could get it from him. And I ordered a set of gears off of Amazon. Same principle, all one piece. And I haven't had any problems out of them. But I do wish I would have gone with the Mofos. Just because I can tell that his look a little higher quality than these. And then if I ever have a problem out of these, I'll just swap to it. The Mod 3 gears that are in the transmission itself, I can't find Mod 5 for it anywhere. But I do have now Mod 5 pinion and spur gear in this truck. Losi Mini T 18 tooth pinion gear. It's going to work out great for that. No issues there, and that kind of finalizes the drivetrain that we're running in this truck. The housing that came with the RC all-wheel drive transmission, I can't say that they were tight when I first got it because I don't remember, to be completely honest with you, but I can tell you now, after I put the new gears in it, I did not have the same kind of luck out of it as I did the stock housings or some of the other aftermarket aluminum ones. The bearings slid right in. They weren't tight fit, and I still had play even with fresh sealed bearings, so I actually went with a sealed bearing throughout the entire transmission on this truck and in my axles, best I could, because this is a mud truck and it's going to get abused. So I like it. The transmission or the motor mount that I'm running in this truck is still the RC all-wheel drive one. You can get a free one for the 370 motors off of Thingiverse. Be honest with you, it sucks. If you're going to order one, get one off of Shapeways if you don't want to buy an aluminum one. Mofo, I'm pretty sure, has some. There's some other guys that have some. Just get you a nice one if you're going to run a lot of power. If you're going to run a brush system on a motor, little crawler, this little mount I'm sure will be fine. But any kind of heat that you're going to run into it, this is not very thick. You could probably redesign it and have a little bit of better to it. But anyway, RC all-wheel drive one worked out fine. Works great for what I'm doing with it. I am stuffed. I can't fit anything else in here as of right now. That's kind of where we're at with it. I'm running TRX4M shocks on this truck. They are oil-filled. I wanted a little bit of a longer shock to it, and I didn't like the double barrel shocks because they're not oil-filled, long travel, you understand what I'm saying there. I like these shocks. They work great. I've had no problems on them. I'm running in my Ripper build. That's also a 2-speed, basher type build. Then I'm running a custom rear sway bar system using some servo links, or some servo horns, some styrene tubing, some bolts, and then some stock SCX24 suspension links. Again, just as budget as I could because I wanted it to be as cheap as possible because I knew I was going to spend money elsewhere. So, the funniest part about it, the old Emax. This one is sent straight from the gods above because it is twitching, it is screaming, and it is not happy. But it still moves. Don't know. I've burned them up in crawlers driving over soft carpet, and then I put one in this truck, and it has been having the absolute dog beat out of it. Still moves, still working. I don't know why. But we're going to keep rocking it until it does go out, and then we'll put a nice servo in there. But for now, the old Emax is where it's at. So, this is the chassis that Sean sells. It's a great chassis, especially if you're building a slightly less powerful truck than what I ended up building. It works out great. I can't really complain. I've got no complaints about it. If you're building one for more, looks, or even if you're wanting to build more of just a scale mega truck or mud truck, this is a great little chassis. He's got them in a couple of different lengths, I believe. This one is the shorter one. And like I said, I am going to redesign mine a little bit and send it to him to, sell as an option as well. But basically in the back here, well, actually, this will be the front now. So the front here, you can tell I had to chop this off because my body's a little different. So when we redo this one, in the back here is where my rear sway bar system is. I'm actually going to redesign this to actually have it incorporated into my chassis. I'm also going to fill in a couple of these holes here to help reinforce it because I'm not going to be using those for that battery mount in the back for that brace. So once that's done, that should fix our whole cracked in the back spot. My shocks are also mounted up on my frame rails here on the for the TRX 4M shocks. I am going to redesign the rail at the top to allow me to have some actual mounts for these shocks instead of just drilling into the side of these. That ought to help strengthen that up as well, and I may thicken it up too. But aside from that, that's the only spots I've had any problem out of this chassis with. So, I'm really not disappointed in it. I think we end up being okay. So, anyway, it's kind of a rundown of what we got going on. The only other thing I think I hadn't talked about was kind of my battery tray. I just used a stock SCX24 battery tray, mounted it down here on some of the bolt holes that Sean put in here. And that's kind of where we're at, guys. So, if you've got any questions, or if you're wanting to build one of these mega trucks, or a monster truck, or just a basher build in general, feel free to ask me any questions. OP, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's been building a lot of the stuff on the TRX 4M chassis stuff, and he's also got the basher stuff down. So, there's a couple of us now that I feel like have fully tested these things out to find out what kind of power we can run in it. And I think we've got the bugs figured out. So, if you got any questions, like I said, let me know, and I'll catch you next time.